Welcome back, guys. We are so back. I tried doing a video recording. It did not turn out as well as I wanted to, so I guess we're going to be stuck doing this for a while. And that's okay. I don't mind this because it's a lot less pressure, but I really wanted to hit this off with the bang. I do want to address something. I understand, we got to put it out there right now. This transition happened without me knowing, without anyone really knowing, and it's a shame. It's a shame across America, really, because a lot of people look forward to it. It's part of their daily lives for some. What I'm talking about, of course, is the transition from Sierra Mist to Starry. It's pretty fucked up. I don't know who approved this in their marketing campaign, but they kind of just rolled it out without telling any of us. And then you show up to every gas station now and there's Starries, whatever the hell that means. I'm getting pretty sick of them. To me, it doesn't taste the same for some reason, which is probably something I got to deal with internally, but that's neither here nor there. I'm very disappointed. No, I'm just making light of, obviously have not put out an episode in, I think March is the last one I did with the St. Louis City Museum, which was honestly like one of the most favorite, like my favorite episode I've recorded, that made me in terms of made me feel like I was doing something at a higher level. So that was pretty cool. But at the same time, like it was a lot of energy planning, coordinating all that. A lot of the guests I had, it was time differences. It was so much stuff going on, as well as I was in my last stages at Missouri trying to move on to a different place. So that was a whole nother thing in of its own. But I'm glad I'm, where I am now. That's what I got back on here. I go, you know what? I can talk to people about this because I am going to get some more guests on soon. And I think that's going to be super awesome. I definitely probably just ruined the whole show with adding some music at the beginning. Hopefully the copywriters don't get at me, but I thought that would maybe wake everybody up in the beginning, even if it sounds terribly transitioned. So a little about, let's dive into it a little bit. For those of you that didn't know, I've been doing this I started the podcast of February of last year, so 23, and I put out about 23 episodes or somewhere around there, which is, I felt pretty good about that. It's like 2 every week consistently. It wasn't, but I put some little ones out. I put some little mini episodes with no guest or me bullshitting with my friends, which was fun, but I stuck with it a bit, and then I couldn't. Well, why couldn't I? As every one of you knows, life gets fucking busy and it sucks, and you're like, I want to do the things I like, and I can't. So I kind of had to put it on the back burner, focus on some other things. Not a bad or a good thing, just wasn't the right time for it. So got done with my time at Fort Leonard Wood. As most of you know, I'm in the Army. Got done there, I came up to Kansas. Now, my goal was to keep my wife back home on our little, at that point we established like a mini farm. My wife was raising goats and milking them every day, chickens and ducks laying eggs every day, 2 dogs, 4 kids. She was homeschooling, she was crushing it, and we were just like, we're going to try to make the commute work where I come back every now and then, and it really didn't. Even after 2 weeks, we're like, this is fucked. We can't. And those of you that have multiple kids, I'm not shitting on anyone with 1 kid or 4 kids, or I will shit on the people that call their dogs kids. Shut up. They're not a kid. It's different. But those with kids, you do know it is something to be separated for a while and try to balance all that on your own, let alone 4. So without hesitation, I told my wife, that's fine. I miss you guys too. We'll get you guys up here. And luckily I was already on the ticket for post housing. So I kind of just moved home. I went home when I had some time. I packed them all up and got them up here. And luckily I was able to do that. So she's up here with me now. It's been 2 months up here or so. And I don't know if any of you have ever been to Kansas. It's a waste barren. It's kind of like Mad Max meets Purgatory in that you just don't see dog shit around you for miles, but you can see for miles. It's actually like it kind of pumps me up a little bit seeing that far out. And it's hot here, but it's not like Missouri humidity. It's just a different thing. And the base is pretty nice. People shit on this base, but I think it's not amazing or anything, but it's not a bad base. I've definitely seen worse than this. So I don't mind it. They have stuff going on every weekend. Like this week, my kids tried out shooting bows with like actual teachers. They did, the week before that, we did a ropes course with them. Embarrassed myself in front of my kids shaking on a rope while they watched. And they had bounce houses and sprinklers and shit. And they loved all that. You know, they have stuff here. I think that's what they do, is make everybody, at least there's activities you can do with your kids and family and stuff that you forget that you're kind of in the middle of nowhere. I like that. Some people don't, whatever. So I got here, I got in a way different unit that's kind of laid more back. I really like it. I don't really like it. I miss home, but I don't mind my job here as much as my previous one. So that's pretty cool. The big things I was going to talk about, the staying in or not. I remember when I first started the podcast. When I first started the podcast, it was about whether I was going to stay in or not. And that kind of developed into this whole thing of, you know, I think I'm going to do this, that, and other thing. And then I just started interviewing people. Well, now I'm at that damn segue again, because it kind of got in this murky deal now where I either have to decide to stay in forever or I have to get out. It doesn't really, like, I'm used to it. Now just the pressure's on because I have about a year and a half to decide. So he's out. I'm sorry if I'm taking little sippy sips. What I'm looking at now is either I am in 8 weeks. I have one class left for 8 weeks, and I finished with my bachelor's degree. It took me fucking 13 years, but I finally got a bachelor's degree, Mom. I fucking did it. To those of you that knew me at Missouri State or OTC or whatever, or my time in Springfield, I apologize for how much of a dipshit I was back then. I finally finished it out, though, so I'm happy with myself for once. I accomplished something that my younger self would be happy with, and it really makes me excited to see what I could do with that. Now, if I get out, which I have 2 years, and then I'll meet my time in service requirements, and I'd get out, I would be probably try to become a teacher back in Missouri, which is something I've always been pretty adamant or wanted to do since I was younger. I always thought that'd be so cool to be a teacher. Teaching's not the highest paid gig, but I feel like it has a lot of, I don't know if it's karma or what do you call it? Purpose. I guess purpose, you know, that's what I look for in the Army. Purpose to it. I feel like it has a lot, and I feel like I can benefit from that as well as benefiting others with my experiences in teaching. That's something I felt I've been called to. Now, the flip side of that is I stay in. Now, if I get promoted in the next year or two, I make Sergeant First Class, and then I can work towards the other echelons, but I guarantee I have a very good retirement and stuff like that, but I would have to stay in another 10 years, basically, and that's something very hard to commit to. So, it's what I'm looking at. I don't know exactly what I want to do. If you guys want to give me your opinions, sure, I'll listen to whatever. You tell me to go fuck myself, I'll listen to it. I just want to hear. That'd be super awesome. Next is money and budgeting. I just read this book called Broke Finance. I don't have the book on me right now. I can't remember the damn author. It's a person recently, like the past 20 years, they went to college, right? They talk about how hard it is after college to maintain a life and stuff, which is kind of bullshit. They didn't really come up from the bottom. They just had very good spending habits from the beginning with their parents, which is awesome on them. But they just kind of talk about that. Now they talk about how to, for any of you like a millennial like me, like if you're like 25 to 35, I guess, with maybe 40, you're going to look at like money. And especially if you come from where I come from, money is always kind of a hot button topic. It's hard to balance. It's hard to do. Sometimes you fuck it up, whatever. God knows I have gone through spurts in my life where money was good, money was bad. I'm just now getting to a point where I've cut down a bunch of debt, and me and my wife are actually working on a budget. I don't know if you guys have worked on a budget. Sometimes it's really fun where you're like, I'm going to fix my shit. I'm going to be a fucking badass. I'm going to be rolling in the bills in the next 5 years. And then there's times where you and your spouse talk and you're like, oh my God, just listen to my side. And they're like, well, just listen to my side. And you're like, well, you go back and forth. And both of you are probably right, but you're just not speaking the right language. And it pisses me off so bad because it sucks that type of issues, which I guess that's the point. But those issues can be so heated so fast or make you so uncomfortable so quick. I hate that. That being said, it does make me excited for the future where we are working on something that's going to be, super setting us up for success, but more importantly, setting the kids up, because anyone around me knows like generational wealth is a thing, whether you're rich or poor. It is hard to move those stratospheres of wealth, right? So if I'm in the trenches, right, taking grenades, John, down there like sucking with the money, it's hard for me to come up out of that and into a very wealthy spot. I could maybe come up to some other shit, but it all depends. Now at the same spot, if I'm at that high ranking, my parents own 20 different real estate development companies. I'm probably going to struggle to fall downwards, even if I fuck up a couple times. It doesn't make me upset. It was just a hard fact to accept when you get older, that even if you are trying your hardest, which at times I have, at times I haven't, but for those of you that are working your ass off, like some of that shit's out of your control. Like you can't control that people born with $20 million are still going to keep a couple million. You can't control that people born with their parents putting their telephone bill in their kids' names are going to probably fuck up their kids' credit and stuff. You can't control that stuff. All you can do, me and my wife, that's all we've been saying lately, is you can do what you can do. You can't control other people's actions. So I thought that was interesting, going through a budgeting thing where the past couple of years, I really haven't. We were so bare bones on budgeting and trying to cover everything. We were pretty much, fuck it, roll with the bills. And now we're getting somewhere and it feels kind of good. Also, the other crazy part that I've noticed up here was my kids. I went from, we had a couple acres. Kids would play outside all the time. We could honestly send them out. They're young, You may not disagree or agree, but they're 6'5", and the older three are 6'5" and 3, almost 4. We could send them outside to play. They'd play for 2-3 hours, no problem, doing whatever. They come in if they're hot, do whatever. Here, it's so difficult because we're in a cul-de-sac, essentially, of, can we go play outside? Yeah, you can go out back, but out back is a giant hill with other people's yards around and not a lot to play with. Out front is 5 other people's houses within 30 feet. For those that haven't been around that, it's very awkward. You don't want your kids out there playing alone. And I go out there and sit with them sometimes, but I think a lot of us, you send your kids, hey, go play for a bit, especially them older ones, let them play. It don't work like that here. You got to kind of watch. I'm kind of getting used to it a little bit with letting them play on a bike if I keep a window open. But it's so different, man. People will stare at you if you're yelling a little bit, or, I've even, I'm not a beater, but I spank my kids every now and then. A little discipline is needed every now and then. And you say that in public and people turn their fucking heads. And this is even Kansas, so I can't imagine going somewhere else, but it's so frustrating when I'm like, I'm not trying to be a dictator or anything. I'm trying to instill discipline in my kids for them to act right in public. And my kids are outstanding 99% of the time. I promise you. In public, they are great. When they're home, they're feral, obviously, and they love to run rampant, which is fine to a point, but I got to lay down the law here a few times. But in public, every now and then there's that instance when people look at you because you're correcting your child instead of not. That is super frustrating. I don't know if any of you guys have that issue, but it is extremely annoying to me. But a point I wanted to make was one point I got to do is I wanted to shout out. So Eric Williams, had him on a couple episodes ago. Tattoo guy, super kind, nice. His wife Kendall, she owns the bus stop in Vienna. Anybody that's not from Vienna, this is probably a very hard thing to imagine, but it's like a small town. Eric opened his own shop there pay attention to the podcast. You'll figure it out. Anyway, Eric and Kendall, they're out there. My wife, she gets along with Kendall great, and I really like Eric. He's so nice. He just took up an apprentice named Roger, who did 27 years in the Army, and now he's tattooing people. And I was fortunate enough, he decided to do a tattoo on me, and it turned out great, and I loved it. It's still healing, so I'm trying to wait to post a picture of it. But I got talking with him for hours, and it's just crazy. You hear like stories like that of people. He did 27 years in the Army. 20 of it probably was in St. Louis or traveling or whatever. And he ends up being a tattoo artist in Vienna. That's so fucking cool to me that it pumps me up, like hearing stories like that of like, he succeeded. He made a very good rank. He did, I don't know if he wants me telling this, but he did very well. And now he's out here doing what he loves, that kind of shit, artwork and all that stuff. He is entranced by it, and he is doing it. So I think a big thing for those, especially like my age, like I feel like we're trying to figure out what we want to do with our lives, because we see a career we got into because we needed to, or somehow our lives led us to it. And you're like, okay, I'm here. Why the fuck am I here though? And you look for other reasons, and maybe it's like, no, you were meant to do this, or no, you need a change of scenery, or maybe it'll come later when I'm 40 or 50 or 60. Either way, that is so cool to dive into something like that. Because he told me, it's still the flutters, the kicks, the little anxiety you get when you're trying something new, and you're like, holy fuck, I'm doing this. Like, that's that voice in your head, It's so fun. I think it's so fucking cool that he's getting to do that, and I still search for that in some things. I did that when I went to I did my first. Well, it was my first, but actual half marathon that I decided to run with a buddy that I knew I could finish. Actually, me and him did it. I still felt those when I started that race. Recently, I just ran another 10-miler. Started those flutters, but now it's kind of going away. It's not as fun because you can do it. So then you try doing other shit like jumping back into the podcast, or I got a new soldier. I got to talk to him sometimes. It's exciting. It's exciting to get so interested. We started going to church now, me and Danielle and the kids. That's exciting. Whether you're an atheist or not, it's not about like, I'm excited to get God in me. It's exciting. It's excitement for me to feel something new. And that's something I don't get to experience a lot. So when you feel it, you're like, holy fuck yeah. I'm scared, but I like this scaredness. And I'm sure some of you can, relate to that. And then I want to talk about the books I read. I read the fucking Broke Millennial, which is great. It helped me really pump me up for that stuff. I did Hell and Back, which is about a army guy. He is Audie Murphy. For the guys in the Army, you know what that is. He's supposedly the most decorated U.S. Army soldier. He served in World War II, did a lot of crazy shit, was a movie star, all this stuff. And then, honestly, I thought the book would be his accomplishments, but no. I mean, like, it goes over, I think, one of the Medal of Honor things, but the main thing is that all his buddies are it's such an army story. They're depressed. They hate what's going on around them because they were mostly drafted, and they're watching everyone around them die. And they're just like, just got to make it through or whatever. This is a pointless war. But they keep fighting because they believe in a bigger cause of defending those around them. And that's what you hear with every war story, from World War I to Vietnam. I haven't heard as much from Desert Storm people, to be honest, but Iraq and Afghanistan, it's not about, we're doing the government's work. We're defending the Constitution. It's, I want my friends to make it home safe. I want my brothers to make it home safe. So that's why I fight to the fucking teeth, That is, if there's no other reason, if you're in the Army and you're like, I don't know why the fuck we're here, that's why it is. To make sure your friends, whether they're friends or not, the people around you, your compadres, whatever, they make it home safe. That is the fucking goal. And I think that's a goal in like life, you know, when you're in a business or you're even a teacher or something, you're not doing it. Some of you are, but some of you that care work your ass off not because you're like, I need a better paycheck. You work your ass off because you're like, I care about what I do. I care about those around me, and I want it to fucking succeed because I want to accomplish things to help those around me and myself. Selfless service, you know, it's awesome. That book. What else did I read? I read a couple while I was here. Anyway, the two new ones I'm reading, well, it's not new, but you've heard about it probably. It's Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, who was a Roman emperor. He invented, basically this book invented Stoicism, where he reflects on his life. And it's basically, you're told to be quiet unless you need to speak, you be quiet. You reflect on your life. You try to do the best you can. It's, what's Stoic, if you've heard term Stoic, that's where it comes from, is Marcus Aurelius doing that. It's a good book. It's very hard to read, to be honest. It's not flat, but it's ancient writing and it's transversed. It's just a little frustrating sometimes, but I like the message. When you can actually read into the message, it's pretty good actually. So there's that one. Another one is The Whole Brain Child, or The Whole Brain Kid, I think. It's by some doctor, can't remember. That one talks about kids, like how they think with left and right brain and up and down brain, right? So the big lesson, I'm not even halfway through it, but a big lesson I learned is kids, right? Their right brain is emotional thinking. Their left brain is logical thinking. Most kids, until a certain age, think with their right brain. So that's very emotional. Like, that's why your kids have breakdowns, like mine. You know, I don't, they asked for ice cream at 11 o'clock in the morning. No. I hate you, not I hate you, but, you're mean, I don't want to, blah, blah, blah. You scream and kick in, whatever. And you try to calm down and you go, it is too early in the morning. You try talking with logic, that's a problem because their brain's working with the right side. So emotions plead to them, not logic. So you can say all you want about, that is a ridiculous request, all it's doing is pissing them off more. Whereas you could always be like, did that actually hurt you, what I said? What was what I said? I'm probably butchering it, whatever. But the main gist is you need to, if your child's thinking that way of emotional anger and resentment, whatever, well then plead with that. Use emotions. That must have hurt really bad. How are you feeling right now? What's going on with that? Those type of things. And then when they get older and they use the other side of logic where they go like, you promised us this, you said exactly this, or they break a rule and they say, technically you said this, not this. Then you need to fight back with logic as well, not with emotions, where you get, well, I'm your parent and I said this. Well, that's not going to cater to them or make them understand as well. They're just going to get more upset. I just thought it was, I got to finish this damn book and I'll talk to you guys more about it, but I thought it was very interesting, that thought process. So kind of where I wanted to go on that one. And what else here? I had some stupid ass jokes. I won't tell the one, but the one I do want to go over is vapes. I would personally like to shank the inventor of a Vuse pod stick, whatever, the vape sticks, someone important in my life uses those. And, every now and then at 2 a.m, she might be flipping the sheets while I'm trying to sleep. And I wake up and I'm like, what the hell's going on? And she's like, I can't find the stick. It's like a crackhead at a certain point. She's not a crackhead, obviously, but I've heard other stories of people who, like, their significant other, or they'll just rip shit apart to find this. And it's so funny because I'll ask, it plays out like a crack addict or something. Hey, you need help finding it? Or do you need help? No. Well, what are you looking for? Nothing. I'm fine. You're looking for that stick again, aren't you? Shut up. I just gotta find it. Well, it was right here under my pillow the whole time. Well, you No, it doesn't really go like that, but I can imagine the extreme to it, and it's just funny. Guys, if you made it through this whole way, I thank you. I apologize because I'm pretty rusty on the mic right now. I'm usually really good at talking to people, not to myself as much, but I honestly had a lot of fun recording here. I have like a little setup now. There's an extra room we have that I can set up. I got to set up a bed for my mom to come visit, but I have enough room to where it's I can make it into a somewhat recording studio. I just got to figure out the damn video because I think that'll be cool if I get guests. So, please tell your friends or whatever. I don't do this like I'm not trying to get famous. It's pretty damn cool when I hear people they've actually listened to it. So that I guess I'll leave you with this. I've been trying to run more lately, been lifting a bit more in the gym. Most people know me, I like to run, but lifting has become a little bit bigger, and the guys at work, some of the younger guys, they've asked for help with working out, which I thought that was kind of cool. It makes me feel like a purpose, as opposed to me trying to get big. I'm trying to help another guy, cut down weight or get bigger, whatever. It feels pretty cool. And I just wanted to talk about, I wrote a little paper on it in college, and it was, Teddy Roosevelt talks about it's a big speech, but a small part of it is a famous section. They always call it the speech, but it was part of it. It's the Man in the Arena, which some of you may know it, but some of you might not. Basically, Teddy Roosevelt, he was given a speech, and this speech basically became famous just for this section. I'm going to read a little bit of it. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end of the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. That's a lot of fancy talk, right? It pumps you up, it gets you going, and it's Teddy Roosevelt. You picture him as Robin Williams on the horse and shit. It's cool. The thing is, he was describing basically those people, which if you're a person of character, I think you think like me. If you're not, this podcast is probably not for you, but he's imagining those people working down in the ditches, working their ass off to accomplish things, not the people that, rest on their laurels, say, well, I accomplished this, and that, but they're not down there with the people. They're not trying to get shit done. It gets me so excited to think of Teddy Roosevelt, before he became president, was in the Rough Riders, charging on a fucking horse, fighting people in the Spanish-American War? Mexican-American War? I want to say Spanish-American War. Anyway, just people like that they go down there with the people that are actually making a difference, and then they make a difference with them. That is, so yeah, I'm going to find some people out here who inspire me and get them on the mic and talk to them about their lives and see what happens. I hope this wasn't too much of a drag. I hope I could keep your attention for a little bit. So please like, subscribe, comment, do whatever you need to. I'll get the word out, or, pump these numbers up a little bit so I can get back after it. And I appreciate you all for listening. I hope you have a great, great August, and take care.